You're watching Robots Reading Reddit, and this is a video compilation of a Reddit thread called "What is the most ground swallow me up embarrassing moment that's ever happened to you?" If your mirror neurons are working, this thread will be a painful watch. Good luck. My wife once heard a girl's accent and asked if she was Australian. She was deaf. By Punjin Master. I was 13, and my family and I were on a skiing holiday. My parents had decided to sign me up for lessons so that my dad could get some good skiing in, and my mum and sister could relax and drink hot chocolate. My sister had broken her wrist a few weeks prior to leaving, and my mum isn't really a winter sports fan. I had been throwing myself down mountain slopes with about as much grace as a brick, with the tutor occasionally griping about said demeanor, and was exhausted. We had time for one more run, so we all waddled over to the T-bar machine. This imaginatively named device is so called because a metal bar, shaped like an upside down T, hooks below your butt and drags you upwards, so you're not constantly climbing for 10 minutes and skiing back down in a few seconds. Somehow, my jacket got caught on the bar, which knocked me to the ground. This is not the embarrassing part. It then dragged me along the snow, past where I was supposed to ski off, and carried on along a very icy patch towards the mountain, where it would turn back. Still not the embarrassing part. The embarrassing part was when the rough ice dragging under me somehow managed to pull down my ski pants, thermals and underwear, exposing my bare ass to an entire slope of people, and giving me a nasty ice/friction burn all down my thigh. Also, I was yelling my head off to get someone to stop the machine. A lot of people saw. I was helped up and off the ice and skied down to the bigger lift to take me back down to the hotel. I cried the entire way down. The real kicker was getting back, telling my family this story while still sobbing through wounded butt and wounded pride, and having my dad and sister howl with laughter while my mum desperately tried to comfort me. Bare-assed and humiliated. Can't get any worse than that, right? By Powdered Toast Man. So I had a crush on a girl back in 10th grade. We pretty much flirted with each other, and she told me via MSN that she would like a hug. When she came back to school, she was sick for like 2 weeks straight. So when the day came, I hugged her. It was super awkward. I hugged her for like a minute straight, and she calmly asked if I would let go of her. That minute felt like an eternity and felt embarrassing as hell. After like 11 years, it still makes me cringe when I think about it. I was wrong. That's worse. By Perpetual Monday. In high school, I was hanging out with my group of friends at lunch. One of our friends walked up wearing a suit and started talking to one of my other friends. A few moments later, he says, "Okay guys, I'm heading out now. I'll be back tomorrow." So I replied excitedly, "Alright man, have fun." He gave me the weirdest scowl/look of betrayal I've ever seen. Somehow it slipped past my radar that his girlfriend had developed a super rare disease and died inside the time span of a week. All my friends were looking at me with the widest eyes as he walked away, and in a chorus everyone was like, "Dude, it's just not getting any better." By Jim and John. I ran into an old co-worker at McDonald's. Our 10 years had overlapped by about a month, and that was several years ago. He recognizes me and calls me over to his friends and tells them this is the nicest guy I have ever met. In the next 3 minutes I called him by the wrong name and asked him how he liked a job he'd never worked at. It was pretty clear that I hardly remembered him. I was so embarrassed that I got my McDonald's to go and ate it in my car. I'm midway through my burger when him and his friends walk up and get into the car directly facing mine. We made awkward eye contact while I had my food in my hand, and then they drove off. FML. In my opinion, this is the best post in the thread. By Parterossa. I'd been seeing this guy for about 3 weeks or so, and he was staying with me for a couple of days. It was early enough that I wasn't quite comfortable with bringing poop into the relationship, as if there's ever really a good time, and so when I started to feel some intestinal distress, I asked him to go to the shop down the street and pick up some wine to have with dinner. He was fine with it, went downstairs, and gave me some blessed minutes to relieve myself. It was a shit for the ages. Periods will do that to you, so sending him away was definitely the right call. I went to clean myself up, and no toilet paper, none on the roll, none under the sink. The only place I knew I had some was in the back room, where I stored all the non-perishable stuff, tins, kitchen roll, bleach, that sort of thing. Well, at least I was alone. I waddle down the hallway, holding my cheeks apart so as not to make a mess, and I'm about halfway to the back room, before I hear a little voice from behind me. What are you doing? Turns out he'd been to the shop in record time, got back without me noticing, and was sitting on my couch watching me do the Kansas shitty shuffle down my hallway, and I'd been presenting my shit smeared ass to him like some kind of tub girl mating ritual. That was not how I had anticipated introducing but stuff into our relationship. So that was way worse than bare-assed on the slope. What could possibly be worse than being a shit crab? By Zachary. I accidentally sent a gif of me finishing all over myself to my girlfriend's family. My lady and I were in a long distance relationship for a couple years and we helped each other through by requesting and sending picture/gifs of our genitals. My SO really liked gifs of me finishing messily, and I was super happy to oblige, so I recorded a really good one, made it a gif, and sent it over. A few days later, she comes back into town and her parents meet me at my parents' house for some holiday dinner or something. My parents have Wi-Fi and so's dad asked me for the password, so he could pull up a video to show everyone. I go to the router, take a picture of it, and create a message, so I can send it to him. Then I get the bright idea of just group chatting her parents and sister together, so they can all get the picture and easily get on the Wi-Fi. So I open attachments, quickly tap the photo of the router and hit send. Then I notice that I accidentally hit the thumbnail right beneath it too. I see an animation of me doing my thing all over myself. Immediately, I shout, "Don't open anything. Put your phones down. Put your phones down. Give me your phones." Running around the house and collecting cell phones. Everybody is really confused, so I have to explain I just sent you a video by mistake. You don't want to see it. Give me your phone and let me delete it. Please. Everyone is laughing hysterically and practically throwing their phones at me. Her mom pretended to look, started fanning herself, and saying oh my goodness. Her dad still calls me movie star to this day. Now we aren't sending them, since we live together, but I'm way more careful about shit I send, and who I send it to. Dear Robot Jesus. Let the next one be a bit tamer. By Frodo B. It was my birthday and we were sitting at the kitchen table. It was my two sisters, dad, and grandma. We were just passing out some cake and my dad asked if anyone wanted whipped cream and I said, "Rub whipped cream on me daddy." I have never once in my life called my dad daddy. I'm not sure if it matters, but I'm a guy, and it was for my 23rd birthday. The next post is from the Magpie. I was 15. Went to our outdoor center with my classmates where we camped overnight and did some activities over 3 days. Anyway, we had a fashion show where all the boys dressed as girls. So the girls dressed me up with a short skirt and whatnot/crop top. Well, in Ireland it's pretty cold at night in October, so there I'm in my miniskirt freezing my ass off waiting for the fashion show to start, and we go up on a table in front of all my classmates and my boxer shorts are loose and my small, cold, retreating penis is visible at close proximity to my whole class. The cool guy in my class shouts, "It's like a penis, only smaller." And I died a little bit inside while people laughed, and I heard a few audible awes and accompanying sympathetic female faces. The instructors quickly got me down off the table to their credit. Anyway, that moment stuck with me for a long time and I actually had a bit of trouble with my penis image for a while, until I realized that actually I'm perfectly average. The last story in this video is from 8800. I highly recommend checking out the thread that is linked below this video when you're done watching. I matched a true 10 out of 10 girl on Tinder who was a student in the college town where I lived after I graduated. She was absolutely gorgeous, a slim blue eyes blonde NCAA swimmer with an unbelievable body and the sexiest girl next door demeanor. It was the beginning of the semester, so that the weather was still hot and sunny. We decided to meet downtown for dinner/drinks at a nice little gastropub. I parked right out front, and considering the gorgeous weather and the casual atmosphere of the town I left my windows down. Remember this, it's important later. Dinner was great, the conversation was wonderful, our personalities clicked, and there was definitely some sexual tension brewing from the chemistry between us. After a few more drinks, we decided we'd walk back to her place. During the walk, I felt the rumblings of a significant gas bubble, but I ignored it. This girl was a 10 and into me. I wasn't about to ruin it. We get back to her place and barely make it into the living room. My worries are behind me, my stomach a distant thought. The next 2 hours was one of the hottest hookups of my life, to say the least. As we are laying there in the afterglow playing with each other's bodies and pillow talking, the rumblings began again with newfound strength. I grimaced slightly and held it back, but I knew a storm was about to erupt. I didn't want to let it blow here, so I suggested we start the 20-minute walk back to our cars. The next 25 minutes were pure agony. We dressed and walked back to the cars, pressure building the entire time. I'm approaching uncharted territory here. I'm not sure my sphincter was going to be able to withstand the rising PSI. We get to the cars, say our flirty goodbyes, and part ways. I hop in my car, my sanctuary, my solitarium. The second that door clicked, I leaned back and let forth the largest, most powerful fart I've ever dealt. 100 psi of bottled ass gas burst forward in the loudest, deepest, most satisfying rush of air. If you had stuck a marble in my ass, I could have shot it through a brick wall. As it released, I closed my eyes and groaned aloud in relief. I turned to grab my seatbelt and found myself face to face with my date. Remember how the window was down? In my haste to get in my car, I didn't realize that she had never had started walking to her car and had been standing there the entire time. She watched me get in my car. She watched me lean back. And then, she watched and listened as I closed my eyes, groaned, and unearthed the Krakatoa of farts. I wanted to shrivel up and die. To make it even worse, I held eye contact with her as I rolled up the window, put my car in reverse, and then drove off without a word. Needless to say, things did not work out between us. I think every post in this thread is a winner, or not, depending on how you define the word. Thanks for watching, take care and see you all later or something.